I never imagined that the person who would teach me the deepest lesson about loyalty would be the same person who promised she would never hurt me. My girlfriend was not just someone I loved, she was someone I trusted with my fears, my plans, and the parts of me I never showed the world. She knew where I came from. She knew how much betrayal had already damaged me in the past, and she looked me in the eyes and said, "I will never be like that." I believed her, because when you want peace, you sometimes ignore warning signs disguised as comfort. At first, everything felt real. The late-night calls, the laughter, the promises, the future plans, but slowly, without any dramatic moment, things began to shift. She became distant while claiming she was just busy. She started protecting her phone like it held secrets. She smiled at messages she never explained, and when I asked, she made me feel guilty for doubting her. That's how betrayal really starts, not with cheating, but with manipulation, making you question your own instincts until you stop trusting yourself. I began blaming myself for her silence, for her coldness, for her lack of effort, and that's when I realized later that betrayal doesn't just break trust, it rewrites reality. She reassured me, constantly saying I was overthinking, but reassurance without transparency is just another lie. The day I found out the truth, there was no shouting, no dramatic confession. I discovered it accidentally through behavior that no longer matched her words, and when I confronted her, she didn't cry, she didn't apologize, she defended herself, she said she was confused, she said she didn't mean to hurt me. But betrayal is not an accident. It is a series of choices made consciously. She chose secrecy over honesty. She chose attention over loyalty. She chose comfort over commitment, and in that moment, something inside me changed. I realized I was fighting for someone who had already emotionally left the relationship. I didn't feel anger. I felt clarity, and clarity is painful because it removes all illusions. I walked away, quietly. Not because I didn't care, but because I cared enough about myself to stop accepting disrespect. Betrayal taught me that love without respect is self-destruction, and sometimes losing someone is the only way to find yourself again. She was my best friend before she became my girlfriend, and that's what made the betrayal harder to accept, because she knew me better than anyone else. She knew how deeply I valued honesty. She knew how much loyalty meant to me, and she still chose to break it slowly. She didn't wake up one day and decide to betray me. It happened over time, through small lies, hidden conversations, and emotional distance. She justified everything by saying she needed space, but space turned into secrecy, and secrecy turned into betrayal. I gave her the benefit of the doubt every time because I believed relationships required patience. What I didn't realize was that patience should never cost self-respect. I stayed loyal while she explored options. I stayed committed while she stayed uncertain, and the hardest part was that she still wanted my presence while giving her attention elsewhere. She wanted emotional security from me while offering emotional availability to someone else. When I finally discovered the truth, I felt embarrassed. Not because she betrayed me, but because I ignored my intuition for so long. She said she never meant for it to happen, but nothing just happens without permission. Betrayal is permission given repeatedly, until it becomes a habit. She asked for forgiveness, but forgiveness without change is manipulation. I understood then that love cannot survive where honesty dies. I walked away without closure because some people will never give you the truth. They owe you. Peace comes from accepting that and moving forward. Betrayal taught me that choosing yourself after being disrespected is not selfish, it is survival. I trusted her because she made me believe I was safe with her. She created a world where I felt understood, valued, and chosen. But betrayal doesn't always come with cruelty. Sometimes it comes with softness and excuses. She didn't cheat openly. She cheated emotionally long before anything physical happened. She replaced conversations with someone else. She shared laughs she no longer shared with me. And when I noticed the distance, she blamed stress, work, and life. I ignored my discomfort because I didn't want to become the insecure partner. But there is a difference between insecurity and intuition, and I learned that too late. She started treating my concerns like weaknesses and my loyalty like something guaranteed. She thought I would always stay no matter what, and that's where she miscalculated, because love should never require you to accept dishonesty. When I finally confronted her with evidence, she said she didn't. I'd think it was betrayal. She said she was just talking, but emotional betrayal hurts deeper than physical betrayal because it replaces you before you're gone. I didn't argue because explanations don't fix broken trust. I chose silence because silence was the only response that preserved my dignity. Walking away was painful, but staying would have destroyed me. Betrayal taught me that people don't leave suddenly, they disconnect quietly, and the strongest thing you can do is leave before you lose yourself completely. I used to believe that trust once given would be protected, especially when it was given. With honesty and patience, my girlfriend knew how much loyalty meant to me. She knew my past, my scars, and the effort it took for me to open up again. She promised safety, not perfection. Just honesty and consistency, and I believed that was enough in the beginning. Everything felt balanced. The conversations were genuine, the care felt natural, and the connection felt mutual. But betrayal rarely announces itself. It doesn't arrive loudly, it arrives quietly through small changes that are easy to ignore. She became distracted while claiming everything was fine. She smiled less, she listened less, and when I spoke about my concerns, she called them insecurities. That was the first warning sign. When someone invalidates your feelings instead of addressing them, I started feeling like I was asking for too much when all I wanted was clarity and respect. She still said she loved me, but love without presence feels empty. Love without honesty feels dangerous. Slowly, I noticed that her attention was divided. She was emotionally invested somewhere else while keeping me close enough to feel secure. She wanted my loyalty, but didn't want accountability. And that imbalance drained me mentally. I stayed calm, I stayed patient, I stayed understanding because I thought love required endurance. What I didn't understand was that love should never require self-betrayal. I ignored my intuition because I didn't want conflict, and that silence became permission. Betrayal grows where boundaries are weak. The truth eventually surfaced, not through confession but through behavior that no longer aligned with her words. She defended herself instead of acknowledging the pain she caused. She said she didn't think it was serious. She said it didn't mean anything, but betrayal is not measured by intention, it is measured by impact. She didn't realize that trust, once broken, doesn't heal with excuses, it heals with accountability, which she wasn't willing to give. That's when I realized I was holding on to someone who had already let go emotionally. I wasn't fighting for love anymore. I was fighting to be respected. And that is a fight you can never win with someone who benefits from your silence. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't demand explanations. Because explanations don't repair trust, actions do. And her actions were clear. I chose to walk away quietly, not because it didn't hurt, but because staying would have hurt more. Betrayal teaches you painful clarity. It shows you that loyalty should never be negotiable, that love should never make you doubt your worth, and that walking away from disrespect is not weakness, it is strength. Losing her felt heavy, but losing myself would have been worse. I didn't come out of that relationship broken. I came out aware of my value, aware of my boundaries, and aware that real love never asks you to tolerate betrayal in the name of understanding.